Hey, what's going on everybody? It's ETAPRIME back here again. Today we're going to be testing out some gaming on the all-new Apple iPhone 15 Pro Max Titanium. And if you've been keeping up to date with Apple's new release, you know they're really touting this as a gaming powerhouse. In fact, later on this year, we're actually getting some console games on the iPhone because of the new A17 chip. There's a lot of developers on board. We're going to get Capcom with their Resident Evil Village, Resident Evil 4 remake, Death Stranding, and several other full-blown PC and console games will be coming to this phone, and I guess they're higher-end iPads because those do have some pretty powerful chips also. And so far, I've actually been having a really good time with the iPhone 15. I wait 2 years to upgrade my iPhones, so I'm coming from the 13 to the 15, and I really do notice a difference in gaming performance already. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at some handheld gaming, and we're also going to be taking a look at some big screen gaming because Apple finally ditched the Lightning connector, and we've got USB Type-C. So we can actually plug this directly into a larger display and get video out. You don't need a special Apple adapter. Some people may still need to use a USB Type-C to HDMI monitor if your monitor or display doesn't support USB Type-C video in, but we don't need anything special. You can pick one up really cheap on Amazon. And since we've now got USB Type-C, we've actually got a lot of controller options. So GameSir has always made these really great extendable or otherwise known as stretchy controllers for Android with USB Type-C that now work with the iPhone. The USB Type-C versions from the Razer Kishi line will work. So you've got the V2, the V2 Pro, and the V1. You can plug them directly into the iPhone. But for the longest time, Apple and iOS have actually had some really good controller support when it comes to like an Xbox controller, PS4, or a PS5 controller. You can even use your Switch controllers over Bluetooth. So that's probably going to be the easiest option for a lot of people out there. And you can pick up a phone mount pretty cheap on Amazon. I'll leave links to everything here in the description in case you're interested in picking anything up. And of course, when it comes to games for the iPhone or the iPad, the App Store is loaded down. I mean, there's thousands and thousands of games. And keep in mind that all Apple Arcade games do support controllers. So you can play without touch controls, which is something I personally love to do. I hate touch controls, so having a controller is really where it's at. The first thing I always like to do with these mobile devices before I get into testing is run some benchmarks. So I've done that here with the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and the scores are looking really great here with the A17 chip. We've got 8 gigs of RAM with this unit here, that new Apple A17 chip, and the first benchmark here is Geekbench 6. And I wanted to face this off against the most powerful Android device I own, the Red Magic 8 Pro. And if you're familiar with that device, it's a gaming phone with a built-in cooler. On the iPhone 15 Pro Max, single core 2,930, multi 7,406. I mean, these are some phenomenal scores for a mobile chip. And if you take a look at that Red Magic with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, 2141, multi 5806. So at least in this synthetic benchmark, the Apple A17 chip is coming ahead of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. Next up, we've got a GPU benchmark, 3D Mark Wildlife Extreme. Overall score for the iPhone 15, 4,254. On that Red Magic 8 Pro, 3,906. And finally, we've got the Antutu benchmark. The iPhone 15, 1,576,532. The Red Magic 8 Pro actually came ahead with a 1,676,446. And if you take a look down the benchmark list, you can see that the Red Magic did beat out the iPhone 15 on CPU and GPU, which is a bit odd because with Geekbench 6 and 3D Mark, the iPhone came ahead. So I'm not exactly sure what to think of this, but either way you look at it, I mean, both of these are very powerful mobile chips. But in this video, we're taking a look at that iPhone 15 Pro Max. So handheld gaming with the new iPhone is going to be really easy. Again, you can use an Xbox controller or a PlayStation controller. You can also pick up a clip from Amazon for about $5. Clip the phone directly onto the controller itself and have a really good time using Bluetooth. But I personally like having a wired connection, so these USB Type-C controllers work great with the new iPhone 15. Here's the GameSir X2 Pro, and it fits right in here just fine. But my favorite controller to use with this right now is actually the Razer Kishi V2. And really, this comes down to personal preference. I just like the feel of this controller more. Plus, we've got Razer Cortex, so we can actually set up kind of a game launcher here directly on the iPhone. Lots of game suggestions, and from Razer Cortex, you can go directly to the App Store and download it. But the first game I wanted to take a look at, which is obviously a bit easier to run, we've got Minecraft. Okay, so I know it's not a super hard game to run, but we are maxed out here. I can go up to 17 chunks on the iPhone 15 Pro. Haven't seen any kind of stuttering or anything like that. We do have a 120 hertz display here. I'm not exactly sure if Minecraft will run at 120 on the iPhone, but it sure is really smooth here. I didn't have to lower any of the settings, fancy graphics is on, and yeah, something like Minecraft or even Roblox, you're gonna have a great time with it. Next game I wanted to take a look at was Grid Autosport. So this was a console game ported over to the iPhone and Android. From the settings, you can download the HD texture packs. That's exactly how we have it set up. We've also got the graphics set to quality, so it's the best looking we can get it on this device right now, and it's a really great experience on this new phone. When it comes to gaming on the iPhone, a lot of people are going to be utilizing this in handheld mode, and that's totally fine. But with this new USB Type-C port and video out, I actually wanted to test this with a larger display. This monitor here does support USB Type-C video in, and I didn't need any kind of special adapter, just a USB Type-C cable. Unfortunately, the cable that comes with the iPhone 15 doesn't support video out, so I had to use a separate cable. But a lot of people out there aren't going to have a display that has USB Type-C video in. But it's very easy to get HDMI out of this device. You can pick up a cheap adapter from Amazon under 20 bucks, USB Type-C on one end, full-size HDMI, plus we've got power in and a few USB ports here. This would be my recommendation, and I'll leave a link for it in the description, but one thing that I've been using a lot recently is the Steam Deck dock. So this works with my Android devices like the Samsung devices that support decks. You can pick them up in several different configurations, and yeah, it does work with the iPhone 15. And with that, you also get a stand, so if you did go with the little adapter, I would recommend a stand, something like this. You can pick them up for about $5. I'll leave links to everything I mentioned in the description in case you're interested in checking it out. But gaming on a bigger display with the iPhone 15 is actually really awesome. I've got an Xbox controller connected over Bluetooth to the iPhone. Here's Grid Autosport again, but we're running on a 27-inch monitor. I think it's 27 inches. And video from the USB Type-C port on the iPhone 15 does 1080p, 60 Hz, and it supports HDR. Please excuse the little frame counter up in the top right-hand corner. That's actually built into the monitor. I totally forgot to turn it off. Next up, we've got Call of Duty Mobile. This is another game that works great with a controller. And this works really well even on the older iPhone SEs using one of the Lightning to HDMI adapters. I did a video on that recently. I think it was the 3rd Gen SE. This is one of those games that basically runs on everything. It's very well optimized, lots of settings that we can mess around with. And for some reason, this defaulted to medium. I figured it would default to the maximum settings here, but I did test it on the built-in display. I could max this out, frame rate and graphics, and didn't have any issues with it. And of course, we had to test out Genshin Impact, one of the hardest games to run maxed out on any device. And I just moved over to my OLED display. I wanted to see how it looked there, and yeah, I mean, on this 47-inch, it looks really great. It's a lot larger than my PC monitor, and with this game, we're at the highest settings, 60 FPS. Everything is on. This is awesome. Every once in a while, I do notice a stutter, and I think that's shader cache. This happens on every device that I've ever tested, even my PC. But as soon as those little stutters are done, this runs very smooth at 60 FPS on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And with iOS, we have controller support, unlike Android, and I really wish they would have brought it there, but unfortunately, we still don't have controller support on Android. The developers do spend a lot of time on iOS, so it's very well optimized over here. And playing this on a big screen, I mean, this looks like the PC version, especially at the highest settings, 60 FPS. Really great performance here on the A17 chip, and I expected it would be. Even on the 3rd Gen SE with the Apple A15, medium settings, 60 FPS, you can have a pretty decent time with it. But in order to go up to the highest settings, you need a more powerful chip, and this can definitely handle it. So far, when it comes to gaming on the internal or an external display with the iPhone 15 Pro Max, it's been working great with everything that I've thrown at it. Personally, I can't wait for those AAA console games to be ported over to the iPhone. We're getting Resident Evil Village, Resident Evil 4, there's a few others that they announced in their keynote, but one thing they really didn't mention is those games are also going to work on the new iPad Pros with the M1 and the M2 chip, or up. I mean, I'm sure we're going to see a higher end version. Because right now, I mean, even the iPad Pro with that M2 chip does outperform the A17 CPU we have here with the iPhone 15 Pro, and there's really no reason not to have those games over there also. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. Really appreciate you watching. As soon as a few of those console games are launched on the App Store, I will make another video. But if there's anything else you want to see running on the iPhone 15 Pro, let me know in the comments below. And if you're interested in any of the accessories I showed off, I'll leave some links in the description. But that's it for this one. And like always, thanks for watching.